This is the Dr. Paul Show, a woman's personal guide to understanding men. And now, here is Dr. Paul.
Hi, this is Dr. Paul. Welcome to the Dr. Paul Show. We have a fantastic guest coming on here at the bottom of the hour called Beverly, and she is going to tell us all about getting along with people. She happens to be a hypnotherapist, too, so we'll work on that. Words of wisdom. I want to thank whoever anonymously sent this to me as an email. I thought it was just terrific. I'm going to read these words of wisdom, and of course, I will comment on these words of wisdom. What a surprise, right? Who would have thought? Well, here they are. The words of wisdom that I'm sure you're all going to really, at least be entertained by. I've learned that you can't make someone love you. All you can do is stalk them and hope they panic and give in. That's one for the Dr. Paul Show, the person said without telling me who they were. One thing about that, you can't make someone love you. That's for certain. And if you have to do that, if you really think that you're going to need to do that, don't even go there. I know that may be tough because many people look at that as a challenge. It's not that they really want that person to love them so much as they really want to prove to themselves within their own egos that this person really can love me. I'm a lovable person. I do not want to be rejected. Well, the last part of that is stalk them and hope they panic and give in. Okay, I can hear that, and that's the humorous part of it. But too often I get various emails with people saying, wow, Dr. Paul, how can I make him or her love me? Well, maybe you can't. Okay, maybe you can't. So give up, go elsewhere. You were looking for someone when you found that one. Can you remember that? I was looking for someone when I found that one. And by the way, if somebody starts giving you a hard time, look them right in the eye and say, baby, I was looking for someone when I found you. And what does that tell them? Oops, they can find somebody else. All right, let's go to the next one. Words of wisdom. One good turn gets most of the blankets. Now, we've all slept with somebody like that, haven't we? I think we all have slept with somebody like that, haven't we? Yes, I repeated that. I know you have, and I have too. And all of a sudden, you wake up at night, especially on a cold night, and you find frost on your backside and wonder why. It's because somebody rolled the blankets all over themselves, and you're out of there. You have to chat about that. That can be a very serious matter, well, for some people. Next one, it takes time to build up trust, and it only takes suspicion, not proof, to destroy it. That one I like. It takes time to build up trust, and it takes only suspicion, okay, to destroy it. And that's true. Don't put people in a position to have to suspicion you. If you do that, you are going to lose the very thing that you've wanted all your life. Don't let that happen. Why put yourself in a position to suspicion and cause it? We know we do it, and if you do it, you better do the following. Here is my solution to that. When you get to a point where there is suspicion, sit down with your significant other and say, here's what we're going to do. We are both going to take a polygraph test. I will be in the room when you take yours, and you will be in the room when I take mine. And we will clear the air. Maybe just like on a Maury Povich show, okay? Like the DNA, only this time it's a polygraph test, a lie detector test. Then you find out if somebody has been telling you the truth. And if they have, fine. If they've been lying to you, fine. At least you find out. So that suspicion is gone. Because oftentimes the suspicion itself will engender more suspicion. I always think of Shakespeare's Othello. Honest, honest Iago, Othello says, and obviously Iago was lying through his teeth to him. So suspicion generates the ruination of relationships. Don't let people suspicion you. And if you do suspicion someone, tell them. And if somebody does suspicion you, don't be defensive. Ask them, why do you feel that way? Well, I can understand you might feel that way from what happened, what actually occurred, from what you saw, from what you think you saw. Remember when we had a course in college and there was a person that was hired to run in the door and fire a couple blanks and then run out the door, and people were supposed to describe that person. there may be 3 people out of 20 that agreed on what that person looked like. So everybody saw something a little differently. So just remember that. Make sure that your suspicion is well-founded. No matter how much I care, some people are just jackasses. Didn't see that one. All right. I see that one coming. No matter how much you care, it doesn't make any difference. You can care for someone who is totally narcissistic, totally selfish, a total liar, okay? A lot of people who are just absolute untruth tellers cannot tell the truth for any reason. The truth sounds better if they told it. It's not a matter of them being sorry about lying. They're sorry about being caught, and they lie indiscriminately. I had a recent experience with that in a business situation. An absolute glorious liar, and just couldn't get over the fact that they got caught. So that's how it is. When you deal with people like that, you have to step back and say, that's it, enough, close the door, done, and walk away. Otherwise, you will be lied to for the rest of your existence with that person. And that's how it is. And by the way, that was a business matter. It happens in business as well as in your personal life. Here's one that's very true. Whatever hits the fan will not be evenly distributed. You like that one, Mike? Huh? Does that make sense? Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up. That's why you duck, right?
You're still going to get hit, buddy. You know. All right, you shouldn't compare yourself to others. They are more screwed up than you think. That makes sense, right? Someone said recently, we're all crazy. I said, of course, we're all crazy. It depends on to which degree you are. That's all. We're all crazy. The person that I really trust the least is the one that calls up and says, I'm not crazy. It's the other people. They're crazy. I'm okay, though. I know it sounds, or we're not making fun of this, but there are people in asylums who say, you see that guy over there? Yeah, he's a liar. He is? Yeah, he thinks he's Napoleon. He can't be Napoleon. I'm Napoleon. Same thing. So therefore, when people are screwed up, they may be more screwed up than you are, which is a good thing. Maybe. At least they'll respect you for your differences. Depression is merely anger without enthusiasm, and that's true. A lot of people who are in depression are really angry at their circumstances in life, and they feel incapable of doing anything about it. Oftentimes, they strike out emotionally, physically. They blame others. Unfortunately, depression in itself can be a very serious disease. If you know someone who is depressed, or if you're depressed yourself, seek medical help. It's critically important. There are many antidepressants out there now that are really, really worthwhile and work. And some of the classic ones are even, frankly, better from what I hear. And I don't involve myself with that in terms of making recommendations because I'm not a medical doctor. If you have a reason to pursue that and you feel that you have someone that you know or that you yourself are depressed, get help. Okay. I'm not going to go there. That one is not going to work. Age is a very high price to pay for maturity. I agree with that. I don't suffer from insanity. I enjoy it. There are many people like that. Why do I think of politicians when I think of that? Is there a reason for that, Mike?
That's a way of life. I mean, they ride that like a surfer rides a wave.
Right. They enjoy that insanity, and we can see it every day on TV. Wow. We're responsible for what we do unless we're celebrities. And I'm not going to pick on Charlie Sheen. I love 2.5 Men, and I'm not going to pick on him at all. I think that celebrities are what they are, and they get to that point where they are in a different world. Why not? That's the way it is, and we just love it because we keep buying these tabloids that tell us all about them, and we wallow in it. And this one I love. Artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity. Wow, think about that one. Artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity. And there's so much of the latter, isn't there? There's a fine line between genius and insanity. Yeah, I can tell you there is. And I really mean that. I'm a member of Mensa, upper 1 percentile IQ range. And I can guarantee you that that's true. Anyone that saw Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs, yeah, that's right. There's a fine line. And sometimes people go over that line and come back. Sometimes they don't come back. And sometimes they don't go over that line. But there is a fine line between genius and insanity. Oftentimes, genius cannot really do the main things that you would think. They can tie their shoelaces. They're a genius in one area, almost a savant. But in terms of living in the real world, oftentimes it's difficult. And it's difficult for them to understand people. Mike, you have a comment on that.
Remember the artist Caravaggio?
Yes.
He was a brilliant artist. He was completely insane. In fact, he murdered somebody over a tennis game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was right. Completely nuts. But
what year was that? You recall?
Oh, God. No, I don't. It's...
But I do recall a case. That's right.
Yeah, that's it. I want to say 1400s. I want to say around.
I think you're right, yeah. Anyway, that's how it is. And that's where we start recognizing, identifying people who need to be incarcerated. And I'm talking about they're certifiable. And I'm not talking about jail. I'm talking about placed in an asylum. The people you care most about in life are taken away from you too soon. And all the less important ones just never go away. And the real pains in the butt are permanent. And that's also true. And it's a shame. It's sad, isn't it? You ever wondered why a dog only lives maybe 10, 12 years? Why don't they live 30 years? Okay, I'm just curious. We all love our dogs, our pets, whatever they may be, cats, and they don't live that long. Well, in the final item here that I want to mention, it reminds me of the time I was doing a seminar for a major insurance company. It was Medicare. They were doing Medicare insurance. And at that seminar, we would give away a gift certificate to the person who was the oldest person there. Well, I know I mentioned this before on the show, but I have to mention it again, especially with this word of wisdom that just came to us. A man was 93 years old, and everybody was there. They couldn't believe it. This guy's 93 years old. So I said, well, tell me, sir. I said, to what do you owe your longevity? But he says, well, he said, I'll tell you what. And he says, the reason I live so long is because I just want to outlive all those SOBs I hate. Well, you win, pal. You get the gift certificate. That's it. The end of the show. He was done, and he won. And when you think about it, that's a pretty good reason to live, isn't it? And Dr. Toughlove thinks so, and you ought to think about it too. We're about ready to go to a little break here. We'll be back right after these messages. This is the Dr. Paul Show.
Have a question for Dr. Toughlove? Call him live in the Tampa Bay area, 727-441-3000. Or you can call him toll-free at 866-826-1340. You can also send him an email at doc@askdrpaul.com. The Dr. Paul Show will be right back after these messages.